Hello, we will be discussing or going over our PowerPoint presentation for our most admired assignment here in our MGT-605 Leadership and Organizations class. Was the last assignment for our course for this semester. We will be going over our most admired company, which we have chosen from the list, which happens to be Netflix. As we go over this presentation and go over some of the bullet points and insight which we have gained through this assignment, we will also be able to show you a few things as far as the objectives, which will be a company breakdown in the 8 dimension issue, which we have utilized with this company in particular. We'll also show you guys how, or show why it is a ninth dimension element as well, because they are attached to the international aspect as well as other aspects. We'll also break down the consequences of the dimension shortcoming. So we'll label what the 8 dimensions are, what the dimension shortcoming is for this specific company in Netflix, and how they are shortcoming within that from the perspective of the consumer and people on the outside looking in. We'll break down the organizational culture breakdown and dimension parallel. So we'll be able to give you some insight on the breakdown culturally of the organization, kind of what they are attached to, what they have as their bread and butter within their walls, within their companies, and the teams that they have, how they kind of break down everything in that parallel, and then breaking down also the parallel to the dimension which they have been perceived as shortcoming into, and how their culture is looking to mitigate or increase their vantage in success within that specific dimension. We'll also speak on the conscious capitalism comparison. We'll break down as well what this company looks like on the conscious capitalism side, some of their norms, some of their values, how they're intertwined and intermingled within their teams and behind the scenes, and then kind of break down what it looks like for them. And then we will dive into briefly the Cotter change model, or break down a step-by-step opportunity or template for what that change model looks like, how it can be outlined, and how we perceive it to be beneficial for them in the long term. So, a quick company breakdown on Netflix itself was created in 1997 by R. Hastings and M. Randolph. This service, Netflix itself, was initially created as a DVD mail service. So there was a subscription fee paid. DVDs were sent to you to your home through the mail and then sent back, and vice versa, kind of like a Blockbuster Hollywood Video type of scenario, until the site launched in 1998, which made it a little bit easier. There obviously was an IPO, so it was a publicly traded company. Started at $1. It is now trading at over $500 a share. So the financial soundness and the growth of revenue for this company is obviously at a really good state right now, currently in 2023. Internet service began in 2007, which is their bread and butter, which is what they are known for. And then obviously the global dimension for this, or international dimension for this company, is it is available in over 180 countries. So it is streaming in over 180 companies. So their global footprint on the cultural side for them, and as we can kind of dive into the conscious capitalism element later, is a very big deal for them as a company. So the dimension field target are some of the ones here. Again, these are personal rankings. This 1 through 5 on the side next to each one. These are more so just kind of how I, as a consumer, look at them from the outside in. Obviously, not being an employee or former employee, I can only give insight on how we look at it and how we perceive it as a customer. So the innovativeness, obviously, we want to give that a 5 from where they started as an DVD avenue to now it's a fully technological aspect of streaming and live streaming and platforming of that nature. The quality of management has been exceptional, above par, above average to that point. So we give that a 4. The long-term investment value, as we saw with the $1 in 2002 to over $500 a share now in 2023, that value of long-term investment has been huge for stakeholders and those people attached to that. The social responsibility, community environment, we give that a 4 based on some of the things that they do behind the scenes, with how they utilize their materials, how they stage a lot of their movies and productions, what they utilize as far as materials, and how they go about their community outreach and endeavors. People management, we give that a 4 as well out of 5, based on how they interact and the information that we were able to find. There were not too many instances of false or negative people management, right? Like huge layoffs or cutbacks or anything like that, or reporting of mistreatment of their employees or their team members. Financial soundness, we gave that a 4, as we kind of alluded to a little bit. They have grown into a robust company. They've done a lot of great things, and they continue to do a lot of good things. Wise use of corporate assets. Again, more so how they interact and intermingle with outside of their company, outside of their walls, is kind of how we looked at that. And then the effective in doing business globally, we gave that a 5, right? So the dimension target field, which we had actually pinpointed and we'll be discussing a little bit, is the one at the top, which is the quality of products and services. So breaking down the quality of products and services, as we had mentioned, we looked at it from the standpoint of these 3 factors, which was consumer feedback, pricing, and communications. These 3 things that we listed that we will discuss briefly are the big elements of why we gave the quality of product and service for Netflix a 3 out of 5 instead of a 4 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5. So consumer feedback, pricing, and communications will be what is discussed. As we look at some of the things as we talk about those, the consumer feedback is all based on me as a consumer and other people which I have interacted with in stuff and feedback which I have seen through the research element of this project of this price hike which Netflix has which they have done over the last 12 to 13 years, give or take. So, as we stated, the Netflix streaming service and platform itself has been around for a while, and with inflation and just the growth of technology and revenue and living and stuff like that, obviously the prices of things will go up, and those increases over the years have been shown and have been steadily, improving and going up for the benefit of the company, which is completely fine. The issue or the negative to that is the consumer themselves. Us as consumers, we understand and see, yes, it is necessary for the company to continue providing the services at a high quality and a high performance as they have, but it is also at the same point of how much is too much from that standpoint, right? So this breakdown in this image and diagram here shows, a steady incline in how prices has gone up from 2011 to 2023, which with some pretty big spikes, in that 2020 to 2023 range, in that, that 2015 or 2016 to 2019 range. Some of these scenarios, and it depends. Obviously, we have basic without ads, standard, we have premium, all of these things. So there are elements to it which kind of pertain to one demographic or one group or another. But these prices have been hiked up for all consumers. So as you look at the consequences of these price hikes, a big element of how they have done with these price hikes that can be shown through some of the data that we have had uncovered was a quarter retention decrease in specific years, specifically near those COVID years of 2020 to 2022. That is a big point, and that is when they decided to increase their prices once again, going from standard, basic, even to the premium, by increasing those by a dollar or $3 up to, so from $1 to $3 within that time span, which, doesn't seem like a lot, but when you factor in how many households and how many people are subscribing to Netflix, that is a pretty big chunk of change for them in revenue, which is understandable. But the other side of it as a consumer is losing that amount of money or getting asked to add on to that value when you are already paying a premium and you have been a faithful consumer and a faithful customer for years and years. It will divide or will initiate some customers leaving, which means negative feedback as well. So customer support and blog reviews and people saying, word of mouth, basically saying like, hey, this service has continually jacked up their prices. It is not worth paying this amount of money, when you could say the alternative would be HBO Max or Hulu, or if you already have a platform such as internet or cable, maybe that's an alternative that you look at instead of what this may be. So the organizational blueprint, these are the vantage points that they have. So this is directly from the Netflix organization. So these value points are listed here, some of them being selflessness, courage, passion, curiosity. All of these points are intermingled into the conscious capitalism elements that we have discussed within here in this course, as well as the conscious culture. So these parallels here that we have, selflessness, communication, inclusion, and innovation, all coincide with some of the elements that we have discussed with in tune with conscious culture and conscious capitalism, as far as being a servant and servanthood in helping the masses and not about me or not about I is about we and about us, right? So their philosophy listed below is our core philosophy is people over process. So this change model for the Cotter model that we kind of had breaks down each step-by-step thought process that we have, obviously finding the financial soundness. Number 4 is the Netflix Dream Team. That is kind of how they outlook and see themselves, based on the stats from the quarter promotion that we kind of talk about in steps 5 and 6. We can get a permanent plug or adjustment of what it looks like, and then the organizational shift of financial model with subscriber premiums providing a sustained value chain. So those change model outcomes, the challenges we would say would be the company initial financial decline. So by changing the avenue and the thought process on what those price points or those spikes look like, bringing them down or putting them at a lock level where they're not going to spike up again, that would, have an initial decline of overall revenue for a time. But I believe personally that it would revitalize itself as customers would see that they would not be increasing later on, and then obviously there would be a small creation budget limit for their future projects. On that side of things, also, I believe that the culture of the organization wouldn't change. It's already in place. I think that is fully ingrained, and I don't believe that the culture itself has anything to do with the financial element of the price hikes, and I believe that the customers would understand that, and I think that the financial structure would force stability to be altered, but I don't think that the current systems in place and how people see the company from the inside would be affected. Some of the lessons that I learned, obviously, while doing this and within the course, just the customer importance, being able to be a leader and understanding that the customer and the people that are around you within your team are the biggest avenue for success and growth. Obviously, as well as the leader direction and the compass capitalism, being a genuine care for others and not just word saying. Attached is our works cited page and everything that we kind of discussed and looked over as we went around and did this assignment as well.